Okay, good afternoon and welcome to Let's Talk About It in Kitely. As you can see, we're in the skybox and we've got a lovely view around us. Believe it or not, this is Huddersfield. Never been there personally, but it's a nice view. As long as and you didn't even have to walk up here. You got transported up here on the teleport device. Aren't you lucky? Anyhow, I hope you can see the view, but if you can't, you'll be able to see what the heck I'm talking about in the stream. Okay, now I haven't caught up with putting the videos online yet. That's one of those things on my to-do list. But I have sent Nina and Shiny, I sent you both homework from yesterday. So I hope you got it. You've got 5 days to complete it. Awesome. It's up to you. It's up to you. If you don't do it, I'm not going to chase after you. If you do it, I'll give you some feedback. Okay, that's how it works. Okay, so let's get on to today's session. And we've been talking about burnout and how to avoid burnout. So can any of you just tell me what you think burnout is and what you think are the symptoms of burnout?
When you is with a lot of stress.
Yeah, when you live with stress, too much stress, you can suffer from this burnout, this kind of breakdown, this mental breakdown. What do you think the symptoms are, and what do you think burnout falls into? What categories do you think you can recognize burnout in? I mean, there are different categories that burnout can affect in your life, different areas where the warning signs might appear. Any ideas?
I'm saying that when they forget what they just wanted to do, they forget appointments and so on. That should be the first sign of a burnout.
Yeah. Play all night. What do you mean by play all night, Shiny? Have you been watching my my playing on Vikings? Shiny, take the mic. What do you mean, play all night?
Did you post any video about you? Or you just post the video about Viking?
No. But I was up late last night playing Vikings. But when I'm playing it, I'm not just playing Vikings. I tend to be doing other things. It's just on. And if I get called by hubby to go and do something, I just go and do it, and then I go and do something else. Normally, last night I think we were watching. I was watching a TV series on, believe it or not, the sort of scientific investigation into electricity, sort of the history of electricity, if you like. Very interesting. And at the same time playing Vikings. Maybe I'm suffering from burnout. Now, we do have a saying, to burn the candle at both ends. And sometimes people will add "and the middle." Do you know what that means? If you burn the candle at both ends and in the middle. Traum.
When the people don't have time to go inside themselves, that only the outside world is important, and that they have to do all what they want, and they forget themselves. I think that's very bad, and I think people who live in cities suffer more from this disease, because here in Navalny have our forests, and when we have problems also, and we want to be just by ourselves, so we can go and walk and think about the problems, and sometimes when you have luck, you can solve the problems by thinking in silence.
We'd say if you're lucky, not when you have luck. If you're lucky, you can solve the problems. Yeah, getting away from it all. That's another thing we often say, to get away from it all.
Yeah, and as I have heard, teachers are have to focus the problem of getting a burnout, because when they want to learn the students, and it's not possible because the students can't learn so easily, but the teacher wants it, and there's no chance. And the teacher spends too much energy of this child, then also can happen a burnout, I've heard.
Yeah, I mean, teachers are actually one of the careers that do suffer from burnout quite a lot. In fact, a lot of service industry people do. But we've actually got some examples, or we can talk about that probably next week. I don't think we'll have time this week. Well, sometimes people think they're suffering from burnout. They're not really. Burnout is when you're chronically affected. Chronically means very badly. We often use the word chronic. I don't know if you've seen it before. It's got that hard k sound. Chronic. When we're talking about health. Okay, so if you have a chronic condition, it's not good, okay? It's not a positive word. Okay, it's used as a sort of intensifier, usually for an illness, to say that it's long-term illness or it's something that comes back again and again. Okay, in British English we sometimes say something's chronic to show that it's bad. Oh, that new TV series, it's chronic. It means it's bad. But when it's used as an adjective, chronic illness and chronic burnout, it means bad. It means really severe. Okay, so if you're chronically tired, it's not just being a bit sleepy. It means you're absolutely exhausted. To suffer from exhaustion. Yeah. So exhaustion and feeling chronically tired can be symptoms. We talked a while ago about symptoms. We did a session, I think, in Atlantis at the doctor's office, if you remember, and you all had to describe your symptoms. Made up symptoms, luckily. Okay, so a lot of psychologists have looked at burnout, and one in particular, Dr. Sherry Carter, she's written on the subject, and the warning signs can be placed into three categories: physical, behavioural, psychological. Nina, take the mic.
So when you burn out, your brain's emotional response becomes suppressed.
That's
and
right.
The brain can't survive any longer.
Yeah, the brain kind of shuts down. The brain tries to protect itself from these terrible feelings, and this, tiredness can be a terrible thing, because there are, I always say, oh, I didn't sleep at all last night. I probably did, okay, but I feel like I haven't. People who really don't sleep at all during the night, it's really bad for the brain, because they've proven that a lot of activity in the brain is carried out. It's like the cleaners coming in to the office. You don't see them, you don't hear them, but they're there. And if they don't come in, you only notice in the morning when they haven't been, and it's all messy. And that's what can happen to the brain if you don't get that clean out of all the sort of toxins that have gathered in the brain during the day. It can have a very bad effect on you long term. I mean, it's really dangerous sometimes. So
I think I burn out now.
Try not to be. There
And
are
sleep.
things you can do. There are things you can do. Yes, not everyone burns out. I mean, there are people who thrive on stress. but not everybody. And they can actually be quite dangerous because they expect other people to thrive on stress. They think it's good for you. I mean, the amount of times my mother used to say to me, hard work never killed anybody, but she was wrong. And you've only got to look at figures in Japan, especially, to see how wrong she was. Traum, take the mic.
A time ago, I watched a film about this matter, and a few people were connected in a hospital, and they had all the same disease, a burnout. And in the group, among the group, was also a housewife and a manager and a teacher, and yes, it was very, very, very interesting. And they had to undergo how shall I say it, some treatments, and yeah, and it ended up that the housewife did join a gym class, and another has taken his life. He made a suicide, but not all of them were cured. And it was very interesting how this could happen, and it could happen to anyone. And it's really worth a thought why when I was young, the generation before, they didn't have this, but I have to say, men in special, they drank their problems down. Maybe it is because our environment is so full of stuff, items, things, shops, the internet, and lots of us don't want to miss anything, you know. And I mean, this is dangerous.
FOMO, yeah, the fear of missing out. Absolutely, yeah. Okay, that's very good points. There are lots of different symptoms that can be attributed to burnout. I mean, sometimes they're just symptoms of other illnesses, but this sort of burnout can have not just mental or psychological symptoms, but actual physical symptoms as well. So let's have a look at some of these words. Some of them aren't so easy to pronounce. Shiny, could you read out the list of physical symptoms for me?
Physical: fatigue, sleep problems, chest pain, or heart palpitations, headaches, lightheadedness, gastrointestinal problems, gynecological problem.
Yeah, sorry, that was tough, I did say. Yeah, I wondered that one was going to be tough. Okay, so let's have a look. First of all, fatigue. It's another word for tiredness, for exhaustion. We say fatigue. Try it.
Fatigue.
Very good. And then palpitations.
Palpitations.
Yeah, your heart beats. I hope. Bumpity, 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 bum. But if you get heart palpitations, it's like beats between the heartbeats, and it's like your heart's fluttering. It's a horrible feeling to get heart, unless you're in love. That's okay. But heart palpitations, yeah, go and see the doctor. Then there's headaches. So head and ache, headache, and plural headaches. Try it.
Headaches.
Not headaches, headaches. So say head.
Head.
Say ache.
Head. Ache.
Put them together. Headache.
Headaches. Headache.
Not hey, head.
Headache.
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 Yeah, let me see if I can find the pronunciation symbols for you. Let's have a look. So here it is. So you've got head plus ache. Headache.
Headache.
Much better. Good. And then the next one, lightheadedness. Again, head, but then lightheadedness. The feeling of just feeling lightheaded, like you're going to faint. So lightheadedness. Try it.
Lightheadedness.
Headedness.
Headedness.
That's it. Try to get that head. Head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. And the next one, we're all ladies here, so we all have gynecological issues, maybe. Gynecological. Men can't have them, only ladies. Gynecological problems. Periods, pain, PMT, premenstrual tension, all that. They're all come under the gynecological problems. Okay, try it. Gynecological.
Gynecological.
Yeah. And what do we call the doctor? Can anybody remember? We did do it in the session on health. So Traum, you were around definitely then. Can you remember what we call the doctor that deals with gynecological problems? Who do you go to see if you need a smear test or anything like that? A doctor, yeah, but they've got a special name. You can't go to your GP for this. Your GP would have to refer you to a gynecologist. Okay. Yeah, a medical doctor. Well, all doctors, GPs are medical doctors, but no, remember each part of the body practically has its own specialist, and the specialist for gynecological problems is a gynecologist. Okay? And the branch of medicine is gynecology. Okay? Any questions about any of those words in the list? I mean, they're all symptoms that can be symptomatic of something else. I mean, heart palpitations, you might have a leaky valve, or arrhythmia. Headaches, well, you just might be tired, or you might be watching too much television, reading too much. You might need your eyes tested. Lightheadedness, you might have low blood pressure. Tummy aches, you might have eaten something. So it's really difficult to say, oh yes, this is stress related. Okay, let's carry on then. Another one of the symptoms was behavioural. Behavioural. What sort of behavioural symptoms do you think might indicate that you're heading for a burnout?
Unfriendly to other people.
Yeah, maybe. Or just having a short temper. Yeah, if suddenly somebody who's normally quite easygoing and and suddenly they're snapping at everybody. Yeah, to be snappy. And suddenly getting rude. Yeah, to be rude to other people. Impatient with them. It might mean they're just a miserable SOB, but it could be if their behaviour has changed, then it might be a cause for concern. Anything else? Okay.
I don't know closely to it, but when someone close themselves in the bedroom, they don't want to get out.
Yeah, becoming withdrawn. Yeah, I think something again. Some people are just harsh by nature, strict and a little nasty. Some teachers, especially. I think most teachers are a bit better than when I went to school. They were very harsh when I went to school, and just nasty and sarcastic and cruel. But nowadays, they're trained to be a bit more professional. But if suddenly somebody who's normally kind and loving and caring suddenly starts being harsh and nasty, yeah, it could be a sign that something's wrong, needs to be changed. Yes, exactly. They give you a tongue lashing, if you've ever heard of a tongue lashing. Instead of being whipped with a stick, you're whipped with their tongue, verbally. Okay. Well, yeah, nature or nurture. Let's not go there. Okay. Okay, Nina, could you read some of the behavioural changes, please?
Okay. Behavioral change in eating partners, increase in drug use or alcohol intake, poor concentration, increased forgetfulness, loss of interest, isolation, increase in nervous habits.
Very good, well done. Yeah, really good, well done. Just a couple of words. The first one, patterns, not partners. Your brain went, I know that word.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Partners.
No, patterns.
Partners.
Patterns.
Pattern.
Yeah, change
Patterns.
in eating patterns. What do you think might be a change? What does it mean, a change in eating patterns?
Oh, you can eat health food. You just avoid eat something, is it?
Well, it could be anything. It could be you stop eating regularly.
Yeah.
It could be you start snacking, raiding the fridge, having a midnight feast, shiny, yeah. It could be that you just change what you eat. You start eating what I call comfort food. That food, Nina, we had a session yesterday in Discord and we were talking about healthy and unhealthy
Yeah.
food. Suddenly you'll be on that first picture with the chips and the crisps and the burgers and the pizza.
Yeah.
Because it's nice, isn't it? And you look at an apple and you think, no, I don't fancy an apple. I'll go and get some chocolate out of the fridge. Junk food, yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Junk
So
food.
anything,
Fast food.
just your eating pattern can be healthy or unhealthy, but if you suddenly change it, or if you just go off your food, we often say that, to go off your food. You make your own lunch. Okay, good for you. That's very healthy of you. What do you mean you bring your bottle everywhere? What bottle? Your bottle of wine? Your bottle of beer?
No, just a bottle of water.
Okay, and I take water with me everywhere. I take a bottle of my bottle. It could be a hot water bottle. You have to say what kind of bottle. Bottle is too broad a term, yeah. And remember, we do have a saying, to hit the bottle. Do you know what that means? If you hit the bottle. Traum mentioned something earlier. And she said that in the past, especially the men, would drink their problems away. Now, if you do that, we tend to, to be drunk. To hit the bottle means to get drunk, very, very drunk. I don't hit the bottle ever anymore. I'm too old. And I certainly don't try to drink my problems away, because they're still waiting for you once you sober up. And then you've got the same problems and a hangover. It's not worth it. So be careful of the term bottle, okay? Then the other word, I've lost it. Ooh.
Isolation.
Isolation. Thank you. Where did it go?
Isolation.
Isolation.
Yeah. I said isolation.
Isolation. Yeah. We do have the word insulation. Insulation, for example, if you have insulation in the roof of your house to stop heat escaping through the roof, and you can be insulated as in you're not very outgoing, but isolation means exactly what Traum said, locking it to become one of those lock-ins, locking yourself in your bedroom, locking yourself in the house, not going out, stopping seeing your friends, stopping calling your friends or family. You isolate yourself, okay? To isolate yourself. You can also to feel isolated. Basically a feeling of loneliness, to feel isolated and cut off from everybody. Okay, very good. Any questions about the terms there? Hi to Tough Guy. You found us as well, Tough Guy. I'm impressed. Yay!
Yes.
Well done, you.
What?
Well done.
Sorry, I couldn't hear that.
No, that's okay. I was just praising you. Well done for finding us.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Sorry, I couldn't hear that.
No, it's okay. I'm using my desktop mic. Sometimes I forget to actually talk into the mic. I turn my head away and Okay, so change in eating patterns we've got. Increase in drug use or alcohol, that's hitting the bottle or taking tablets because you feel they'll help. They might short term, they don't long term. Poor concentration, that's quite a big indicator. Increased forgetfulness, oh dear. I might have a problem. It's not that I forgot something. At the weekend, I dragged my hubby to a friend's house. And we got there, and her daughter was there, but she wasn't. And her daughter said, "Hi, what are you doing here?" I said, "Oh, your mum said, she said, no, not today, next month." I didn't miss it. I didn't forget it. I just got the wrong month. I did say to her, I said, well, I like to be early. That's terrible, isn't it? So maybe I need to, I need a holiday. Loss of interest. Yeah, just basically losing interest in things that you used to enjoy. You used to enjoy reading books. You stop reading books. You can't be bothered to watch telly. You can't be bothered to do your artwork or your cooking, or you just lose interest in the things that used to be pleasurable. And then increase in nervous habits. Now, what might they be? What might we call nervous habits?
Having no patience.
Yeah, but being patient isn't really a habit. It's not a nervous habit. Nervous habits tend to be things we do when we're nervous. Yeah, eating, comfort eating. Do any of you bite your nails? To bite your nails. I'm glad to hear it, Traum. But it's a nervous habit.
And eat your hair.
Yeah, chewing your hair. How many young girls with long hair, tends not to be boys, but yeah, young girls with long hair, they'll suddenly start chomping on the ends of their hair. That is a nervous habit too, yes. just being fidgety, you know, tapping on the desk or fidgeting with your feet all the time. They're all nervous habits, and suddenly they start to increase, and you're nibbling at your nails all the time, or scratching your head all the time, pulling your hair, chewing your hair, adjusting your clothes all the time. These are all what we call nervous habits. I think our mothers used to call them bad habits. Biting your nails is a bad habit, okay? Chewing the inside of your mouth and making funny noises like you don't even know you're doing it, but it's a bad habit. Okay, let's carry on. We had the physical, the behavioural, also the psychological. So, Traum, if you could read out, it's a shorter list, so don't worry, you'll have more reading to do in a bit. Could you read out the psychological?
Thank you, Lynn. Psychological, depression, anxiety, worrying, feelings of helplessness or hopelessness.
Very good, well done. I'd just say worrying. That's the only word I'd say. Not worrying, just worrying.
The O is shorter spoken.
It's an
worrying.
It's not wa, it's wa. Worrying.
Worrying.
No, not wa, wa. The You know your favourite sound? The little drunken E? Wa. Worrying.
Worrying.
Let me give you the don't worry.
I can't understand how to pronounce the O. Ah.
Actually, it's not even the drunken E, it's the it's the real. It's like like
Worrying.
Worry.
Worrying.
To worry.
Worry.
That's better. You're getting there. To worry. Like
To worrying. Worry.
Yeah. Again, close your eyes. Don't see that O. That's what's making you say wa. It's worrying. To worry. I am worried.
I'm worried.
Yeah.
I'm worried.
Worried. Okay, and don't forget you can listen to it again and record yourself and then compare the two. Just listen to one of the recordings in one of the dictionaries online.
Worry.
Okay, and then record yourself and listen rather than just repeating it, because sometimes when you say a word your brain thinks, yeah, that's what I said, but then when your ears hear it again you realise, oh no, that's not what I thought I'd said. Especially if you compare it with a good example online. Okay, but don't worry, be happy. Okay, any questions about the words there? Anxiety is a funny word. Anxiety, to feel anxious. We actually change the feeling of anxiousness is a feeling of anxiety, like fear. Okay, no questions? Then let us move on. And Tough Guy, I'd like you to read this next two paragraphs for me, please. Okay?
Okay. According to according to American psychologist Dr. Sherry Burke Carter, certain people are at higher risk of experiencing burnout. These include those who work long hours, who rarely take holidays, and who have little or no social life. Another risk factor is being constantly on electronically or otherwise. Burke Carter says, always being connected badly blurs the boundaries between work, on time, and relaxation, off time. Our brains are not designed to be constantly on. So if you don't give the brain some time off throughout the day, it will do it on its own in the form of decreased attention, loss of focus, and reduced concentration, she explains.
Well done, yes. You need to concentrate. Reduced concentration, yeah, especially when reading. Yeah, you started saying oh yeah, reduction. No, well done, you corrected yourself. So you were concentrating. Okay,
Yeah.
you read it the second time perfectly, but the first time is just where it's a different use of the word on, and they want you to stress it in the text. So if you look at the speech marks, it's telling you how they want you to think about that particular phrase. So how I would say it is, another risk factor is being constantly on.
Okay.
Try it.
Another risk factor is being constantly on.
That's it. And if you notice, it says on time and off time. And again, look at the little single quotes. And that's because they don't want you to think of it as on time. Normally when we talk about being on time, we mean being punctual. Okay? But this is on time. What do they mean by on time and off time? Tough guy, do you know?
Yes, of course. I think that on time means when you're working. Off time means when probably.
Yeah, off time is relaxation. Not working, not
Yeah.
thinking about work, not doing work, but not just work, just being a little bit
Idle.
hyper focused and a little bit hyper aware of everything rather than being relaxed and chill. Okay. And
Okay, so
anybody
you are not relaxed if you're talking about off time, right?
off
You
time
are
is
not. Yeah.
off time is when you
Yes, yes, yeah.
feel relaxed. Sleeping is off time.
Okay.
Okay?
Oh.
When you switch off, to switch off. Literally,
Oh.
I switch off sometimes by drawing or painting, sometimes by doing my photography. Doesn't mean I'm not being active, it means I'm relaxed doing it. I find it relaxing. Some people relax by knitting.
Okay.
They switch
Okay.
off and relax. So anybody
Okay.
got any comments on that? Do you agree with it? Do you disagree? Tram, you mentioned this, you mentioned the internet. Always being connected. Again, you see that use of the single quotes. Always being connected. What do you think that means, Traum?
Yes, always be connected. When I have my phone, my cell phone, always by me, it's always on, and I answer every message, every phone call. That is for me, always being connected.
And do you? Do you answer everything?
No.
Yeah, good for you.
No, no, because since I am in school, since I have been in school, I switch my phone over to so that there's no voice, no tone to hear.
To silent, we say.
Do you know what?
Okay.
It is silent.
Yeah,
And during the day, I forget to switch it over.
I switch it to silent mode.
That's great. I have always a good excuse.
Yes. Oh, sorry, I was in silent. That's what I say as well.
Yes. You know, I was in school and I forget to switch it over.
Yep.
To that. That's good. And by the way, I have an old-fashioned cell phone. I have an old Nokia. and so I don't have
Very
to
trendy now.
look at it. Yeah.
Okay, so Shiny, are you ready to read your bit?
Yes.
Okay, there you go. From certain.
Certain
Yeah.
certain high stress professions may also lead to burnout. Doctors, nurses, and other caregivers may suffer from compassion fatigue. Teachers, particularly those in inner cities or poor areas, are prone to burnout. Employees whose companies are restructuring or laying off staff are candidates for burnout, according to Dutch researchers writing in the journal Occupational and Environmental Medicine. The researchers recommended that employers should limit the time they expose employees to job insecurity during restructuring processes and improve employee health through open and clear communication.
Very good. Well done. Yes, easier said than done. Um, I don't know if you've ever felt that feeling of job insecurity, but it's a horrible feeling. I've been made redundant 3 times in my life, all when I was quite young. And it wasn't too bad for me because I was quite young. I think if I had job insecurity now, it would be worse because I'm older and I'd be more worried about finding another job. When you're younger, you're more resilient, though. Okay, nicely read, Shiny. Couple of words. The first one, prone. It's a long O sound, not prawn, prone.
Prone.
That's it. Sometimes we call people accident prone if they're always falling over or breaking something or bumping their heads, that kind of thing. You can say, oh, they're so accident prone. They're always hurting themselves. Okay. The next one, candidates. Not dates, that's candidates.
Candidates.
That's it. And then a very important one for the forum, Dutch.
Dutch.
Yeah, people from the Netherlands, we still call them Dutch. Okay. And then recommended. It's not a re, it's a false prefix. It's not like to recommend something, it's recommend. To recommend something. Oh, I think you should have the fish. Recommended. Try it.
Recommended.
That's it. And processes. To process something. Different processes.
Processes.
Yeah, now some people do say processes. Okay, but processes, more British English. The different processes that go into making chocolate. Yum. Okay. So, has anybody got anything they'd like to say about that? Would you agree that caregivers can suffer from compassion fatigue? It's a shame April's not here. I'm sure she'd agree. Now, somebody wrote inner cities. Traum.
Yes.
Yeah.
What was the question, Lynn?
I don't know. You wrote inner cities?
Yes. Also, yes, this was my question. What does it mean, inner cities?
Okay. Cities are large. Okay, so we're not talking about towns or villages. We're talking about proper cities. And within cities you have the centre. Okay. But that tends to be commercial, generally quite a bit of money in there. But when we talk about inner city areas, we tend to talk about those areas surrounding the centre, and often those areas that are not affluent. Okay, so you have, when you've got the city, you have the suburbs, they're the outlying areas. And then you have the inner city. It tends to bring up the picture of high-rise flats, cheap accommodation, lots of betting shops. And a lot of politicians talk about inner city problems, where there's poverty inside towards the centre of the city. Okay?
Uh-huh. And do you mean the background of the children is poor, and so the parents are often not interested in the education of their children, and the teacher have them problems to teach them?
Yeah, I wouldn't like to actually say that, because I know people who live in inner cities who are very very focused
Concerned.
on their children, so that their children don't fall into the trap. But yeah, it's generally the inner city is the areas with the social and economic problems within a large city. Okay, so it's a slightly derogatory term, inner city. It doesn't mean the city centre. Don't get confused with the city centre. Okay, one of the
Yes.
inner one of the inner city areas with problems in Nottingham is called the Meadows, and it's got a very bad. It's lovely, isn't it lovely? Well, a lovely name for an area, the Meadows. Oh, where do you live? The Meadows. Oh dear, because people know in Nottingham it's an inner city area, drugs, drink, crime, loads of inner city problems there. Okay. It's got a very bad reputation.
Lynn, I think I have to check this word inner cities, because I'm still not sure what it really means. But because you said it's having to do with the center of a city,
Nope.
because most of the rich live there, as far as I know.
Well, not
And
always,
the inner
especially not in the UK. We tend not to live in the centre. It tends to be more commercial and shops, offices, etc. It's different in Germany. Lots of people live in the city centre in Germany, but in the UK it tends to be more of a commercial area. But no, those areas within the city, towards the middle of the city, not the suburbs, but where there are real social and economic problems. Okay? High rises, multiple accommodation flats, not so many nice little houses with gardens, not so many parks, housing problems, drug problems, alcohol problems, crime. Okay?
So the background for the children is not the best.
Absolutely
and,
not.
yes.
But again, I don't like to paint it with a broad brush, because many people can't afford to live in any other area. But it doesn't mean they're not bothered about their children's education and they don't want the best for their kids. It's just you get caught in the trap, the poverty trap, I call it. So, but I wouldn't like to say that everybody who lives in the inner city is the cause of the problems there, but they have to live with the problems there. So when you're always frightened of crime, or you're always frightened that your children will get into a gang, or it drags you down, it drags your children down, and it can be a cause of stress and burnout. And the people who work there, the social workers, the doctors, the caregivers, they can also be affected. Even though they've got good jobs, they can be affected by this daily grind of problems. The police even, they all get affected by this, and they end up being hardened and toughened, and oh, what a cheerful topic. Okay, so maybe we can look at inner cities in another session, but let's carry on with this particular topic today. Okay? Okay, so I think Nina, it's your turn. Am I right? Lost track.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good. Here's your text. It's a little bit long. Bear with
Oh,
me. Hang on. Just bear with me a second.
oh,
A little bit
okay.
more. Yeah, I
Uh,
know. I know. But they kind of go together, so I don't want to split them. Okay? Shiny will be
let's
jealous.
go. More odds, more mistakes. Okay, well, let's go. John Wong, offer, offer of out of the blue, wrote that human research staff have an important role to play in limiting the negative effects of workplace depression. Obviously, they can't diagnose depression, but spotting troubled employees is a crucial business skill, considering that almost 3 in 10 employees will suffer from mental health problems in any given year, and that the average length of time of work is 30 days. Um, I forgot how to pronounce this word. I think, although having too much work often leads to burnout, being bored can cause similar symptoms. This is especially the case for people working in the service industries, of those whose jobs are repetitive, often administrative, with monotonous routines. Workers who Montero Martin of the University of Zaragoza in Spain, writing in the BMC Psychiatry Journal, Montero Marin describes such workers as worn out. Oh, he says that worn out workers may develop a passive coping strategy, becoming ineffective in performing work tasks.
Very good. Well done, Tuffy, hey?
Thank you, Shine. Thank you. Good. Oh my gosh.
Okay, so, but as I say, the two paragraphs go together. I didn't want to split them. So, let's start with human resources staff. Not human resources, the department. Okay, so in a large organization, we call them, often it's shortened to HR, and it's human resources. So human resources staff, the people who work in the human resources department. Okay, so try it. Human resources staff.
Human resources staff.
That's it. Now you can say staff if you want to. I say staff because I'm posh. Okay. Then diagnose. To diagnose something. Go to the doctor for a diagnosis. He diagnoses what's wrong with you.
Diagnose.
Very good. And then don't know where considerating came from. It's not a word. Considering.
Considering. Oh, considering. Oh, my mind. Right.
Now you can be to be considerate. Okay. That you can be considerate. She's a very considerate child. Okay. But not to considerate. To be considerate. And looking after other people, thinking about how they feel. That's being considerate. Okay.
Okay.
Good. And then in any given year, be careful of running on. Not in any given year. Okay.
Year.
Year. So try the whole thing. It's the Y.
In any.
Yeah, the Y isn't silent. In any given year. Try it.
In any given year.
No, in any given year.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So
year.
Year. You've got to get the y, like
Yeah.
you. Think about you, your, year.
Yeah.
So in any
Any given
given
year.
year. That's better. Good. Then of those whose jobs, those but whose. You let those infect whose. So in of those whose jobs.
Of those whose jobs.
Perfect. Then monotonous routines. Monotony. Ah, hate it. Monotonous and routines.
Monotonous routines.
Yeah. So you always think about burnout as being for people in high-flying, stressful jobs, but it can also be people in repetitive, monotonous jobs. They can also suffer from burnout. And why not?
Monot-
It's, yeah, when you stop looking forward to going to work, there's something wrong. Then the next one, psychiatry.
Psychiatry.
Perfect. And then worn out workers.
Burnout workers.
Yeah, not warn. Warn is to warn somebody. Warning, warning. Worn out, not worn out workers. Warn, like warn. Same spelling. But not like. So try it again. Worn out workers.
Burnout workers.
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 That you're saying walkers. I want work. Workers.
Work. Worker.
Yeah. Worn out workers.
Burnout workers. Oh my god.
That's
Yeah,
why
but
it's really tough, I know. Remember, I walk to work.
I walk to work.
So I'm a worn out worker.
Burnout worker.
Okay,
I give up.
you really have to listen to the recording of this one because I know your brain's saying, "Yay, I've got it." Nah, you're saying worn out work. You're saying worn out walker. So somebody who walks everywhere and is worn out. It's a worn out worker.
Worker. Burnout worker. Work.
Work. To work. Worker. Anyway, let's not worry about it because we will have to finish now. But yeah, I'll send you a link. I'll try to remember to post the link actually to the video. But of course, we always have to wait for it to actually. I can't post it straight away, otherwise I would do that. But YouTube needs to process it, and by the time they've processed it, I'm doing something else, and then I forget to go into YouTube and release it into the public or release it into the wild. So when I do have a listen to the end of it to listen to your worn out walkers. Oh, worn out workers, worn out workers. Oh, it's a tongue twister. Anyway, but you'll see what I mean when you hear it. Okay. Anyway, we'll stop
Okay.
there. We'll carry on next week, and I hope you enjoyed the session. I will be in not next week, next session, by the way. I'm not here because I'm a worn out worker and I need a break. Because we didn't go away in September,
Sure.
we're going away next week as part of our birthday presents to each other. So we don't buy presents, we buy experiences nowadays. So we're off for the week. I'll be around, obviously, on Discord and in the forum, but I won't be able to run sessions. But I'll probably have Wi-Fi somewhere. Anyway, I hope it's. Yeah, so when I say next week, I do mean next session. Keep an eye on the calendar, okay? What doesn't kill you make you stronger, absolutely. That goes for pronunciation too. Okay, thanks for coming. Take care, and maybe I'll see you in the Hangout in half an hour. Well, 20 minutes now, so I better disappear so I can have a cup of tea before I become a worn-out worker too. Bye. Take care. Bye. Thanks for coming.
Bye bye.
Tough guy.
Cheers.
Cheers.